Hey, what's going on? This is Ash coming at you for another great video. Today, I'm going to be talking about a very important topic, and that is about risk. We come in life and we want to start a business, we want to do something, and this word, it's a four-letter word, risk, right? And how do you overcome risk so you can maximize it? So in his book, Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow Quadrant, I was just reading, and there's a certain part of this book I'm going to go over. It's on page 250, actually, on the cash flow quadrant right here. And there's actually 5 key questions that I like that he put here. And I'm going to actually break them down for you so that you can understand what is risk? How do you really think about risk? What do you get into your head about that? So number one thing he talks about define risk in your own words. So think about what is the word risk? It means that you're actually engaging in an embarkment where you're going to take a certain amount of risk, which means something could go bad, something could go wrong, where you're maybe at a worse position than when you started, right? That's a risk. But it also, risk could mean the opposite of that. You could end up being where you want to be. In other words, there's a return on that risk from a positive perspective. So let's take a look at this. Number one question he's asking is relying on a paycheck risky to you? So think about this today. It's like if you look at the economy, the way things are going, when you go to work every day and come back, yes, you get a paycheck every day, but what if that company has to change their organization structure where they're maybe cutting off their labor costs, maybe they're starting a new division, or maybe they're downsizing. So that risk is always in your mind. Every Sunday night before you go to work the next day, the risk you have, what if you show up the next day and your boss says to you, hey, we've made some changes, I'm sorry. And that happened to me, I remember. I don't know if you watched my video, but I talked about it. It was June 13th, a little over 10 years ago. And I found that I walked into the office, everything was going great. Numbers were good. Company was pretty good. It wasn't doing great, but it wasn't doing bad either. And all of a sudden, they made changes. They decided to downsize that division that I was working with. So that was a risk. It was always haunting me every Sunday night when I would think about tomorrow's another day going to work. That job became a risk for me. And I found out that one day something's going to happen. I can tell. Like, you see all these layoffs that happen, you see the changes that are made in corporations. So that risk of relying on a paycheck, for me, became very risky. It's like when people start a business, sometimes they think, wow, I'm going to need all this capital, this credit. What if the business doesn't work? But the bigger risk is, what if your job doesn't work? Then you have to go look for another job, and you're going to be trading your time for money again, from one situation to the next situation, right? Same thing's happening. So risk is actually where you have to learn how to manage it to your benefit. And I found that the way to overcome risk is you increase your knowledge, you increase your value. And when you increase your knowledge, you increase your value as a person, you learn a skill or skills, more than one. And what happens when you build a skill, you actually build more confidence. So it doesn't matter if they lay you off. You have a skill you can fall back on. A skill could be in marketing, a skill could be in persuasion, a skill could be in whatever endeavor you want to be in, right? So building skills, building knowledge, building your IQ, building your wisdom also avoids risk, because there's nothing to risk now. So what if they lay you off? You can figure out another way to generate income. And relying on a job, if you're always working for someone else, remember, they're looking at their bottom lines of their profitability as their number one factor to being successful. Okay, this is what I found anyway. So number one thing that he talks about is, how do you look at it? Do you rely on a paycheck as a risk? For me, that is a risk, relying on a paycheck from somebody else, because there's certain factors in the company you can't control. The second thing is having debt to pay each month, risky to you. And it depends on what type of debt it is, right? If it's debt to pay off a car, if it's debt to pay off a piece of furniture, think about it. Is that asset, or what do you want to call it, is that generating income for you? If it's not, then it is risky. But if it's debt on a business, something that generates income, then it's not risky. In my opinion, I think that borrowing money to make money is a good thing, because you're only doing it for a short period of time. Once the income starts to come in from what you're doing, you eliminate that debt. So in other words, you have a business that's generating more cash flow. The third question he's asking on that page is owning an asset. This is what I was leading to. Is owning an asset that generates cash flow each month risky to you? Think about this for a second. If you have an asset could be a business where you have to pay an X amount of dollars every month, but it's generating X amount of cash flow every month. As long as the money going out is less than the money coming in, that is a positive cash flow. It is not risky. It's only risky if you don't know what you're doing. And it goes back to the skill sets. If you have the skill sets, you have the knowledge, you know what you're doing, it's always going to generate an income. And here's the thing I look at it. Business is a numbers game. Just like if you're in sports, for example, it's a numbers game. You know what a percentage of the time, like for example, in football, they call it when you're at the 20-yard line, they know that there's a percentage of time that if you're a good team based on the numbers, that there's a chance you're going to score. Versus if you're only on your own 20-yard line versus on the opposition's 20 line. So your percentage of chances go up when you're further down the road. Same thing in business. The more you know about your business, the more you know about what you're doing, the faster it is for you to make income. So therefore, you eliminate or reduce risk by increasing your knowledge, by increasing taking action. Let's look at the fourth question. Is spending time to obtain financial education risky-free? Here's another one. People go to university. They spend thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases, to learn education. And it's not just the money that they're risking. Think about this for a second. It's their time that they're risking. You know, on a calculator I was looking at, there's a thing called future value of time. Look at this for you. Let's say your time is worth right now $50 an hour. But after a period of time, you learn a skill, okay, over a period of time, let's say in the next 3 months or so, your future value of that time goes up. Your value of your time goes up because now you instead of worth $50 an hour, now you're worth $500 an hour. But that's in a period of, let's say, 3 months. That's a good return on your investment because in 3 months or let's say in 6 months, you could gain that much income. You're worth $500 now per hour. Think about it. So the way to increase income is to increase your value. Don't think of trading your time for money. Think of trading value for money. That's big. Trading your value. The more value you have, the more income you can ask for. So how do you increase your value? Well, you first of all associate with the right people. What you will become who you associate with. Think about this. Okay, who you associate with right now with your best friends, let's say. We did not think to cut off your friends. But think about this. If you're taking advice from them, from the place that what they're coming from, is it going to help you get what you want? If they're making $50,000 a year and they're giving you advice and you want to make $100,000 a year or $200,000 or $1 million a year, are you going to take advice from somebody that's making $50,000 a year? No, right? And you might say, well, I know them. Yeah, that's true. You know them. But what you don't know is they don't know the business that you're going into. So it's important to take advice from people that are already doing the business. And look what he writes here, the next question. Is spending time learning about different types of investment risky to you? So here's the thing, diversifying your income. It's very important to focusing on other ways where you could make money, not only the ones that you're looking at right now. So think about this. Risk is you have to manage anyway. You live every day with risk. You wake up in the morning, you know, the ceiling could fall on you. Or you walk across the street, a car could hit you. That is risk. But why do we take those risks? I'll tell you what. Because we know the percentages, that the percentage of chance you getting hit by a car tomorrow morning is less than 1%, a lot less, right? So same thing in this business. How do you increase your odds? Well, you increase your odds, going back to, is you increase your knowledge, you increase your value, and you learn to take the money you have or the money you may not have and borrow it and put it into a business or put it into action so you can make money. One thing I found about money, that it has to move for it to be productive. The word money comes from the word currency. Currency comes from the word current. If you look at a current in the water, it's always moving. So money has to move for it to create value. If it's just sitting there forever, I do agree, you have to save some money, but the fact of the matter is, if you're not using capital to move money, to using capital to make money, you are leaving a lot of potential on the table. So I hope this makes sense. Don't be afraid to take risks. Only be afraid to take risks if you lack knowledge. But if you don't have to worry about the knowledge part, we help you get the knowledge, you get what you're looking for, you're able to make the money you want to make. Hope this makes sense. Make sure you put a thumbs up on my videos and join and subscribe and share all that good stuff that you have to do with YouTube. Okay. I'll talk to you next time. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.